Yup. Go yup.
Oh my gosh.
What are you waiting for? Power up!
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Zay. I'm back with another video. Today we'll be talking about Fairy Gone. I know I've been kind of out and about for the last 3 weeks, but I convinced myself to come back. No, I've actually been trying to figure out different ways to create my content for the channel. I know the last discussion we had was on Apex, I believe. And
Yes.
so this week we'll be doing something anime related. As you can see, my boy Jermaine is here with me. D'Angelo, I don't know where this man's at. He's probably out on the streets, getting his money. You feel me? So I guess we'll just hop right. Bruh, you always got the biggest cups, bro.
I drink a lot of water.
Always got the biggest cups. So we don't really have a structure for this conversation like we did the last one, or this discussion video. So we're just gonna kind of wing it up until this current day, which is what, the 11th of November. They have released up to 18 episodes of this show, and it's still going on from my understanding. But I've only seen up to episode 11, which at the time there was only 13 episodes released, which was 2-3 weeks ago. Jermaine's only seen up to episode 12. And I mean, anything you want to add before we get into it?
Spoilers ahead, of course.
Yes. So I guess first off, do you want to maybe start off with summarizing what the story is up to this point?
Well, all right. So the story drops you in, and there's been this war, and the war's over, and there's unification, and it's following a character called Free and another character called Marley, and they start working for this company, Dorothea, which is like almost like some sort of National Guard sort of situation. They're soldiers. They help with the military. They do jobs, missions, etc. And the whole premise of the show is they fight, or the war was fought with fairies, and it's sort of like industrial age. They use swords, but they also do have guns and vehicles. So like the time is somewhere in between there, but yeah, fought with fairies, guns, swords, that sort of thing. And really it's just about what's happening with the unification and the countries.
Right. Like, it jumps you right into the story of Marlia. I think that's how you say it in English. It's a little bit different in Japanese, but it jumps right to her and kind of where she's at immediately. It shows that she's in the mafia, and it doesn't quite tell you exactly what her intent or what her motivation is. They were at the auction house, I think, in the first episode, and so they were
bodyguards.
Yep, yeah, and they were, of course, auctioning off these different things, and one item, if you will, was actually a couple of fairies. And so as this is going on, this assassin lady jumps in, which actually turns out to be Veronica. Which Veronica, again, spoilers ahead, like, Veronica is someone who saved Marley. I'm just gonna call her Marley. Marley from her burning a town when they were younger. As you were saying, fairies are a big thing. Fairies, again, back when the war was going on, essentially they took these fairies, they took the organs of the fairies and kind of transplanted them into humans and made them fairy soldiers. And so when that happened, they gained fairy powers, and they were able to have kind of like their own sidekick, if you will, that had their own special abilities. So
I would relate it to something like Persona or Blue Dragon, if you've seen that.
Yeah. So like, for example, with Free, which is without going too much into him right away, he is someone who you meet in episode 1 with Marley, who's at the time one of the bodyguards. And when he ends up going up against Veronica, who is also another fairy user, although she's not a fairy soldier, he ends up coming out with his own fairy. And so his fairy is this wolf-like creature that is able to screech.
It just can scream.
Right. And that's, I mean, his wolf-like dude is crazy, like crazy fast, crazy strong. Like, he's cool, but like, there's it is kind of, now thinking about it, it is kind of lackluster. Like,
Compared to the other fairy abilities, especially, right?
Right. But either way, that's kind of the gist of episode one. It briefly introduces you to kind of all the different aspects of the story and what's to come, and then as far as character development, I would say of these three characters from episode one, Marley I feel is the least developed throughout the first 11 episodes. She is known as the disaster child. Basically, anyone who she grew up with ends up dying. Free, as we mentioned, was a fairy soldier, but again, you get to see all of his combat experience throughout the 11 episodes. You get to see him kind of have to relive parts of his past with certain people he meets up with. And Veronica, like, she used to be this good girl, now she's this full-blown assassin, like, I mean, absolutely destroying, like, massacring people, bro. Like, just takes her blade. Go ahead.
She said, the Veronica you knew is dead. I'm not her anymore.
Yeah.
Just cold-hearted, ruthless murderer. Like, no fear.
But Marley to me, again, out of those three, huge disappointment. Like, I don't really see her, like, outside of her physical change, I don't really see her progress at all in her end goal. Like, her end goal is to become useful. Like, because up until this point, she's been labeled as this disaster child. You see some of her progression in the sense that she's become like this marksman, if you will, with this rifle. But even so, throughout the 11 episodes, you don't even see her use it that well. Like, outside of shooting training boards, like, she doesn't actually utilize it in a real applicable situation.
It's like, to get stronger, she became a marksman, and she's supposedly really good because she can hit the targets in training.
Right.
But then in actual real situations, she's never shot anything.
Right.
So it's like she's almost progressing, but then she just takes a step back, like,
right.
I'm almost getting closer to my goals, and then, she's not.
Yep. She doesn't believe in self. And this self-doubt, it in this case, really, really prevents the character from progressing at all. Like, at all. Outside of the, the real important situations, the real, like, influential moments, that she could have, influential opportunities that she has, she's fine outside of that. But then she gets in these moments and she just breaks down, and it's
right.
It's so frustrating because I feel like it's wasted potential. It's wasted.
And so far within the 12 episodes, she never has that, aha, I get it. She never has that buckle down, okay, I'm useful now moment. She never really gets that.
Right. She builds up to it. She has a perfect build up where she's like, okay, I'm going to do it. Like, she has that at least 3 or 4 times. But then it's like, once she gets to when she's about to take that step, right when the music perfectly leads up to the moment, like for example, in the fight, so a few episodes, I would say episode 6, I think this was, Marley and Free come across in like the catacombs, essentially. So Free ends up confronting Patricia, which Patricia ends up fighting with this, like, suitcase. I find that really weird. Super fast, and she was really getting in there. Like, she was pulling everything out her suitcase, man. Like, it was kind of crazy.
Patricia had a fairy too, correct?
Yes, she did. And I can't. It was a large fairy. Yeah, it was a large big fairy. Yeah, it caught Free off for a second, and it actually surprised me that she had one like that, because I don't know. I kind of feel like up until that point you had fairies that really represented each character, like, in a certain way. So for example, like, when you see Free, or when you think of Free, like, he was a warrior, like, he's fast, he's strong. That's how his fairy is. You look at Marley, she's kind of passive. Well, then you have this fairy that kind of reflects that and is defending her, right? It's like very defensive. You have Sweetie's fairy, which is kind of like this. I mean, you see every time it's summoned, you have this black mist around her, right?
Yeah.
And so she's a very she's a very sly, devious,
Mysterious,
manipulative type of character.
underhanded.
Exactly. And so you have all these fairies, but then you see Patricia's, and you're like, what is this thing? Like this, it's this
It's just a
huge
big
thing.
hulking thing, right?
Exactly.
Now that you're explaining it to me, the big hulking strong fairy, she had that big giant suitcase she was swinging around. She must be pretty strong.
But so anyway, getting back to my point. Finally getting back to my point. Marley was fighting John. So they end up getting separated. Free ended up going against Patricia, and then Marley ended up going against John. And John is like this crazy psychopath, like this dude that's all about art, you know, and which these characters. Okay, so I have to say, this scene, I feel like was one of the best scenes out of the 11 episodes that I watched. Like
I would completely agree. By far, like not even close.
The introduction of John, like just his how should I say it? It's like almost psychopathic, like serial killer like tendencies. Like the way he was introduced, coming out of the dark, and you don't know what direction he's coming from. The song build up, the how Marley was reacting, and actually just you could see how she felt. I mean, yes, it's an anime,
was
so
scared,
yeah,
you know?
she was actually just horrified of what could be around her. She's looking around, she's freaking out, you know, and
he's so creepy because like he does this thing where he'll just start looking up and then like recite some sort of poetry, and you're like,
Right.
what is he talking?
Exactly.
Like, what is he doing? And then he'll try to kill you right after. And it's like, huh?
so John, so as we're, you know, as you're watching this, John is trying. He's obviously trying to kill Marley, and so Marley's running up these stairs, and she's pumping herself up. You know, she's like, you know, oh, this was my past before, and I couldn't do nothing, but I'm gonna do something this time. So as soon as she turns around at the top of the stairs, so there's this door that would lead right down to the catacombs underneath, and right as she turns around at the top of the stairs to potentially shoot John comes out of nowhere, and I forget what his line was. He's something about him stabbing her or something like that, and it just stabs her, and she just goes down. She's like, you know, like
It's like you're not even doing the scene justice. It's like gets to the top of the stairs, turns around with a rifle. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna shoot him. And then John just kind of crawls up, and she misses the shot or doesn't take the shot, and he's like, poke, and he's like stabs her in the gut, and she's cooked. And I'm like, wow.
Like all this buildup that she had, like she was pumping herself up. It so frustrating. It was just so frustrating. Anyway, so
It was kind of cool though how John crawled up like that. That was
yeah,
so.
yeah. It's I mean, if I haven't shown it, yeah, I'm definitely showing the clip now.
彼女はあれで用心深いんだ。なかなかいい。もっと抗うんだ。君は素敵な作品になりそうな予感がするよ。レディー。
なんなの一体。
But like that's by far one of the best scenes out of that entire 11 episodes thus far. So then,
But
so
her backstep wasn't even just that she pumped herself up and she was gonna do it, and then she didn't, and John just stabbed her.
Mhm.
But even after that, she's crawling away, bleeding, you know, running from John. He's about to kill her, and then just like in her past, when Veronica saved her as a kid, coming through the stained glass window, crashing through. I don't know how she jumped that high. She's ridiculous. But Veronica comes through, barrel rolling in, and she starts to fight John and saves Marley again,
Yeah.
even though their interests don't even align. Like,
yeah, but one of the things that also annoyed me about Marley is that when it comes to Veronica, I feel like she loses all sense of common sense. Like when at the very beginning when Free and Veronica were fighting, and I mean you literally just saw this woman Veronica run through people like they were nothing. And,
all the people at the auction,
and-
just destroying everything.
And then as soon as she's able to get Veronica and Free to stop fighting, she's like walking towards Veronica like, come back to me. I'm just like, Marley, Like it's been how many years since you've seen her, and you literally just watched the woman that supposedly, well, obviously she did save you, but the woman that's supposed to be this friendly, go lucky girl, you just watched her wash people, bro. Like, they got washed, like wiggity washed, like. Great. Anything you want to add to everything that we've talked about this far?
We didn't even talk about. Well, let's talk about John's fairy. John has a fairy, and so does the cleaner. What was her
Okay.
name?
Wait, the cleaner.
The suitcase lady.
Oh,
She's called
Patricia or Patty.
right, Patricia. They both have fairies.
Yep.
Hers is just a big hulking strong thing, and John's, it's like this thing that it can hide items for him and then like help him throw them out. So it's like a
Right.
really tricky, like almost smoke and mirrors, like what's happening.
His fairy allows him to create these, not clones of himself, but essentially dummies.
Like these fairy decoy sort of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, and so within them, his could be harmless, or they could be essentially like a grenade, and shrapnel is in them. Well, in this case, it's knives, or needles, whatever they are. And so you just don't know what you're gonna get. And so again, going back to the whole like theme that they've had with the fairies, like this really does
It
reflect
fits.
who the character. Yeah, it really fits the character and who he is. Anyway.
I want to talk a little bit about the Patricia and Free fight. I want to
Okay.
mention that the whole time it's like Patricia is just manhandling Free. Anything that's popping out of her suitcase, he's getting handled, and his fairies getting handled by hers too. And then it's like you can see almost this moment where Free goes from being this sort of police officer Dorothea guy to soldier Free, and he gets up with his sword and he yells, "Hey, stop playing around!" And his fairy, the wolf, is getting crushed by the big fairy. Just lifts it and like throws it across the room. And when he gets serious, that's like a really good Free moment too.
Right.
He has those sorts of moments where he reverts back to this is war now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the type of character that he is and who he's become, and you don't get to see that in Marley. Like they push this. They push Marley kind of, I feel like, kind of down your throat a little bit, and as the main character, and that's I like Free more than I like Marley. I feel more emotionally attached to Free than I do to Marley. I feel more emotionally attached to Veronica, to John, than I do
definitely John.
to Marley. Like no
Marley-
bias. Like no
Marley
bias.
doesn't. It's almost like Marley's not even the main character. It's kind of like all these things are happening around her,
Right.
and we're just kind of seeing it from her perspective, which
Right.
it's really a letdown. A lot of the time,
Yeah.
it's really a letdown when Marley again she doesn't have that aha moment, that hero
Right.
moment,
Right. Well, just
Where she
any
just starts
any
to
sort
get
of
it.
like any sort of like solid progression, like at all. Like I
She
just
never says, "Okay, Veronica's been assassinating people. I work with the police, the Dorothea now. I need to stop this. I
Right.
should arrest her." She never has any sort of great conviction, great ambition
Right.
moment where you're like, "Okay, I get it now. This is what this is leading up to."
or 11 episodes. If Marley died in the anime, no one would care. No one would care. Like no one would care. Like they'd be like, "Oh, she died, really? Okay, next." Like that's how I feel. Like Free. I mean, you still got
We
Free.
get more free screen time, right?
Right. You got Free, Veronica, Sweetie's more interesting than her, Patty, John. Like you get the Wolfran, who was up there for a half episode in total, maybe
Like,
still more interesting. Like
And Wolfran was really cool. He has this sort of sneaky. He's kind of sneaky, where they think they're tracking him, and he's making fake tracks.
yeah,
To throw them off, and he's smart. Like he has that. He also has some of that soldier mentality that Free has, and you get to see a little bit of it, but only for like 5 minutes at the end of like episode 3,
yeah,
and it's a big letdown.
yeah.
And that's kind of a theme where it feels like the bad guys are always just way more interesting than Marley.
Oh yeah. No,
Marley just doesn't matter.
I think any character is more interesting than Marley at this point. Okay, so as a TLDR, let's go ahead and let's rate these. So again, 3 points are story/character development, art, or art style, and then music. So for me,
Okay.
all right, and that's just, I don't know. I mean, we don't have to really rate it per se. We can just say whether or not it was good or bad, and then we can maybe give the anime thus far, out of 5 stars if you want. So that's kind
I'll
of
go like low rating, high, and then
Yeah.
I'll just say I'll use the.
Okay. So you want to go first then?
All right, so for story and character development, I'd say it's pretty low. A lot of the story is uninteresting and drags. I wouldn't recommend it for these sorts of reasons.
Okay. And then
Not gonna go about character, or you want me to talk about art style? As far as how the characters are drawn, I like how the characters look. I like how Marley Free. I kind of like the art style, but it's nothing excellent. I'd say it's in the middle. And the music can be really, really good at times. I kind of like the music. I like the intro. Yeah, the music is
Yeah.
kind of hidden.
I'm going off of that. I'm gonna go backwards. So the music is crazy. I like the music. And like, if it's the one thing about this, and I maybe I'll even throw this same thing at the beginning of the video. I don't know, but the music is the best part of this show. Like, if there's any reason why I would recommend watching this show, which I don't really recommend it. The music hands down has some of the best fitting songs for the different situations, different scenes, but also the music is just generally good. Like, it's as far as, if you take the music out from the scenes, the music isn't like phenomenal. It's not like the greatest of all time, but it's good music. Like, but standalone, it's good music. And then if you throw the music tracks into certain scenes, like the church scene, for example, which again overall was immaculately done. I like it 100%, 150%. It just makes everything better. Art style, I'm okay with it. It's not my favorite, although to me it's better than like the One Piece art style. I do have my gripes about both of them. Like, there are certain angles, like, for example, there was this one scene, and maybe I'll throw it up over this video, where Sweetie had turned and she kind of like looked up, and her nose looked gigantic, bro. Like, it was so like it was just so large, and it just, I don't know, it threw me off. So the art style is okay. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. And so that's kind of a medium. Music is a high, and then the story again is the lowest point for me. Again, you have the main character Marley, and I don't really think she contributes much to the story, or even to the show in general. I think the story is kind of bleh. I think, as far as the main story, I think the side stories are much more interesting, and side conflicts. So yeah, I don't think the story is great, and alongside that, character development I think is good for some, bad for others. Bad for characters like Marley, but like good for, I would say pretty good for like Free, but then I would say again bad for like Wolfran up to this point, for example, because he's in there for half a episode and then they just dropped him. Overall, I would not give this a recommendation. I wouldn't necessarily say stay away from it, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It seems extremely lukewarm. Are you gonna even finish watching it after this anytime soon?
I will probably get through episode 18 just to see what happens, but when I got to episode 3, I was ready to go on to my next anime.
I'll tell you right now, I'll probably finish it up just to see maybe there's another conflict like that Mausoleum, that short scene. Like, if it can get to that height again, it might. I'll say okay. I didn't completely waste my time, but I can't recommend it, and I'm not looking forward to have to drudge through the mud of the story and the characters still.
Right. But again, I think this was a good first run at it. Again, this is kind of a first run at everything. Anything else you want to add to Faragon before we close out?
No, I'm done talking about it forever.
Anyways, all right. So for those of you who have stayed through this video, I don't know how long it will be. I haven't edited it yet. I appreciate you staying. I hope that you hit that subscribe button, the like button. Drop a comment below. I am always looking to respond to comments. I love interacting with people. Yeah, and so this week again was anime specific or anime related. Next week we decided on Call of Duty. So because Call of Duty recently came out, we will be going over that next week. So again, next week Call of Duty, and then the following week is gonna be another anime. Don't know. We'll let you guys know when we decide on that. But going forward, real quick, I will be doing more videos outside of discussion videos. I will be focusing more on games like League of Legends. I will be focusing on games like Halo, for example. And I will be also talking about kind of esports and how that is growing, really. So I think that all three of those are relevant to people today, and hopefully to you guys who are watching this and interested in this channel. And we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.